Now let's get into the nitty gritty and talk about an annotated deep dive into Podium Club. We're staring down the barrel of the final straightaway headed into turn 15. You'll notice that they do have brake markers here. I think this one got smashed. It might have been a 3. Not sure. You can see a 2 and a 1. As you know from most of my videos, I don't focus on start of braking point. I focus on the ending of the braking point. Your brain will automatically do the computation to figure out how slow you need to be before you start turning in. This corner in particular requires a patient late apex. You're headed slightly downhill. Some people will tend to creep over on this. They'll let the car gradually drift toward the entry point. On this corner, I don't recommend doing that. You want to stay parallel to the white line and brake in a straight line. So the orientation of your car will continue straight ahead as I'm going right now, but you'll be parallel to this white line. Hope that makes sense. We'll show you here in a second. So we come up to the corner, we brake threshold braking. Notice now I'm trailing off the brake. As we start to turn in, there's still 21% brake pressure. We're going to turn in, we're going to hit a late apex. We actually can hit it about 60 to 70% of the way through this corner. 2 wheels almost in the dirt. If you don't have traction control or limited slip differential, you might spin the wheels if you get your wheels in the dirt. So let's stay off the dirt and just ride, inside the curbing. You can definitely hit the asphalt inside the curbing here. You might actually find there's more traction on this black asphalt than there is if your right wheels aren't quite all the way over there. As we exit, notice we're feeding in full throttle already, and we're going to get all the way out on the exit curbing. So let's back this up 10 seconds. Again, headed down to 15. You don't really have any great visual reference points. All right, so the apex probably right about here. Wow, that's a big arrow. Let's shrink that down. So we're about in here, and we want to get trail braking so that we can get a lot of rotation here. So we're going to hold a little bit of brake pressure as we start turning the wheel. Look at my hands up here. We're turning in pretty sharp. We're going to hold the steering angle. We're going to lift and coast. This is a point where you have to be patient and actually let the car coast, because that will allow the car to complete its rotation before we start feeding in the throttle at the apex. So we start getting into throttle here, and we're going full throttle all the way out to the exit. If you're in a spec Boxster, you probably get to throttle even sooner. You probably be in second gear coming out of that corner. And if you're in a fast car like this, it's already started in second. It's in third gear now. If you don't want to spin out, I recommend being more gradual at the throttle, because a lot of people do spin out on the exit of here in second gear. If you want to experiment with third gear all the way through that corner, it actually probably benefit you in the warm-up sessions to try that, because you might end up learning how to roll more entry speed, and also you'll be smoother on your exit because you can get to full throttle sooner in third gear. So it'll just force you to get better with your hands and your braking technique to roll more speed all the way through the entry and the exit. And then as you start getting better and better, you can try going down to second gear. And in a spec Boxster, I'm pretty sure second gear is going to be faster than third gear. All right, so now we're on the straightaway. You can move over real gradually here. No need to rush. You got the wall on your left. Just creep over to the right. Notice we're heading uphill. It's a long. It gets steeper here. See how you kind of feel like right about when you see the blue over here? It gets steeper and it goes uphill, and that creates a crest. And then we start headed downhill. Notice I'm already on the brakes. We just came over the top of the hill. Back it up 10, go forward. I'm full throttle. I'm headed up the hill. Watch how early we have to brake in this corner, because it goes so steep downhill. Braking now. There's an access road here to the right. Maybe that's a good reference point. If you're in a fast car, start braking a little bit right before this access road on the right. And notice this isn't one where you can just slam on the brakes. I started with a little bit more medium brake pressure and then fed in full full brake pressure, because when you're coming over the hill, the car gets light and it can get a little bit squirrely. So you have to sort of introduce the car to the brake pedal, then apply the full brakes. The rear of the car will be more settled, and you can then brake faster or in a shorter distance. And now we're at threshold here, braking at full. I have ABS, so I can pretty much mash the pedal and the car will slow down quickly. And then notice that we released the brakes pretty quickly on this corner. There wasn't a whole bunch of trail braking, because now we're coming down into the bottom of the hill and there's a bit of a compression. Anytime we come down and then we start headed back uphill a tad, which this does, you're going to actually gain traction, which means the front end's going to attain a bit more grip, so you can lift off the brakes a little earlier, less trail braking required. It also looks, if you get out and walk the track, you'll see that this corner actually has a bank. If you get in here, the car will gain more traction as well past the first part of this apex because of the banking. So ignore the first apex. I know it looks tempting to kind of get in there and cut the distance. In a spec Boxster, you'd probably be a little bit more to the left than I am in a real fast car. In this car, we're going to stay a bit wider on the first part of turn one, because we want to maximize our exit speed. See where this car is exiting the second part of the apex? We want to get a lot of rotation over in here to let the car be aimed more down the straightaway between turn one and turn two, which is down here. So we want to miss the first one, stay a bit wide, carry more speed. We're going 70 here. We don't slow down really that much. See, it's still at 70. There's 2/3 of the way throttle. But we are going to hit the second apex. And notice a lot of people run over the dirt on this. I like in this one to really just kind of get both wheels right on the inside and use the full curb, because that will reduce the distance and allow you to get to throttle sooner. I'm already at full throttle. I lift a little bit there because now the track flattens out and you actually lose traction here. So be cognizant. The first part of this corner, you gain traction, it's banked. As you go through the second apex, the track levels out. So you're going to lose a little bit of traction here. Car gets a little squirrely, it's flat. So just be prepared for that. But the track's also really wide, so you can use the entire track on the exit and get all the way out to the curbs on the right. All right, so now we're coming into turn two. And turn two looks like, the apex, if you just glance at it from here, it looks like the apex is about, right here. But the reality is it's a very lengthy corner that tightens on the end. So the apex is actually more about here. You can get in on the curb and ride the rail. You do pick up traction. Why? Again, you go down into this little compression here, right where this red car is headed slightly down. Then it starts to go slightly uphill. So you pick up traction right when you go uphill, and the track goes up on the exit. So you actually lose a little bit of traction when you turn in. As soon as you get into the curbing, you gain traction and you can get to throttle pretty soon and track all the way out on the exit. So it's actually a pretty fun corner. All right, so this one does require a little bit of trail braking. I'm getting in here a little bit early. I've got good grip and not as much power as the car in front of me. That's a 991.1, or I think that's a 991.1 cup. It's a cup car, I think. And I'm getting in here on the curb, and now I'm 68% throttle, going to track all the way out to the exit at full throttle. Back it up, watch it at full speed. Actually, we'll watch the whole sequence because we're going to come into turn one. I'll talk you through it. Hard brake, not as much trail braking, carry a lot of speed, hit the second apex, full throttle, track all the way out, come into turn two, full braking, be patient, get in on the curb, start feeding in throttle, track all the way out to the exit. Okay, great. Now you're presented with turn three. This one, you don't really have time to get all the way over. If this was like a straightaway, you'd be over here all the way on the left. Well, we're at 68 miles per hour. We've just tracked out. We are turning back to the left gradually. We don't have time to make it all the way back to the left to set up for this. So we're going to aim for maybe 2/3 of the way back to the left. We want to hit this apex, and we want to hit it hard, and we want to get it about 2/3 of the way through this first corner. There's a secondary apex that will fool you that's over here. It's part 2 of the corner. Ignore it. The only thing you care about is getting your car on this apex and start feeding in throttle as you track out, and unwind your hands, which means straighten your hands gradually as you apply throttle. Track all the way out on the exit and ignore the second apex. It will allow you to carry a lot more speed and set up the straightaway between turn 3 and turn 4. So let's watch that. Again, we're going to trail brake in. We're going to hit this first apex, full throttle. We don't hit the second one. We track all the way out on the exit. Back it up for you. Here it is again. We're going to approach turn 3. Again, trail brake in, 2/3 of the way through, hit the first apex, ignore the second, full throttle, track all the way out. Okay, hope that makes sense. We're aiming for turn 4. This is downhill slightly. It is slightly banked. You'll notice that as you carve into the corner, it goes slightly in your favor, a little bit downhill, and there is banking. So there's pretty good grip. We're still going to do a late apex, aim for about 2/3 of the way through the corner. It's a pretty standard corner. It's in isolation, meaning there's nothing after it except for a straightaway. So it's a straightaway leading on to another straightaway following the corner. So we treat this one as an independent corner. Pretty standard stuff, but it's important because the corner does tighten a bit on the exit. So you have to be a little bit patient before you get to full throttle. So you use some trail braking. Oops, car went off there. So we're going to slow down a bit here and be really careful we don't overcook the entry. But we're going to get to full throttle, as we come out of the corner. Again, because of the banking and the fact that there's an indentation, and then it starts going uphill a little bit right here. You pick up traction right at the exit. So you can be pretty pretty liberal with the throttle and get on it. And then now we're leading on to turn 5, which is not a turn. We're going to exit turn 4. The next corner up here is considered a turn 5, but it's a kink. It goes left. We're going uphill. We crest the hill at the top of 5, and then we start heading a little bit downhill towards turn 6. Just stay to the left, reduce the distance, ignore turn 5, especially in a spec Boxster. You want to reduce the overall distance you travel, and you're not going to be going nearly as fast as you are in this car at the end of the straightaway. So just hug the thing on the left, unless you're in a race and you're being defensive and you need to kind of stay in the middle of the track down this whole thing. But for this, we're just going to stay pretty hard left here and set up for the entrance to turn 6. Another one that's headed downhill, and it's kind of weird because you're going downhill. There is a little bit of banking, as you go down. So the braking zone takes longer to slow the car down. Once you've done your trail braking and you get the car rotated, you do get pretty good grip when you get down in here. And the apex is late on this one, about 2/3 of the way through the corner, because this sets up the second longest straightaway on the track. So we're going to trail brake in. You can actually get in a little earlier than you think because of the positive camber, and we're still headed a little bit downhill. So you just kind of be delicate with the throttle. You can even get to throttle before the apex on this one. And look, I'm already at full throttle, no problem. This corner, for some reason, I have seen people kind of fly off the track here. I haven't had any real major issues with that corner. I feel like it's pretty smooth. It's got positive, good banking to help you. The trickiest part of it, I think, is the braking zone. So let's look at it again. We're in 5, it's a kink. Let's actually back it up and really quick do turn 4 again. So we're headed toward turn 4, kind of downhill, get in on the apex, uphill, full throttle, stay left, go around turn 5. Difficult braking zone because it's downhill, but once you get into the corner, you actually pick up a little bit of grip. You're still headed downhill a little bit, but now you can get to full throttle. We're right at the exit of the apex, headed down on a wide exit. Use the whole curb on the left, and now we're looking down the straightaway of turn 6. After turn 6, between 6 and 7. Headed into 7, second or maybe one of the fastest 2 corners. 7 and 8 in sequence are the fastest 2 corners on the track. So what we want to do in this one is a little bit more medium to light long braking. So we're coming in hot. We're kind of headed a little bit downhill. I started with the brakes not full. And look, I'm kind of just holding that pressure. Not at maximum threshold braking. We're trying to keep the car stabilized and flat. We want a flat car. We want to maximize our entry speed without upsetting the car. This is particularly important in any car. In a car that has a lot of movement like a Boxster, you really don't want the car to be on its nose in the braking zone. So when you're approaching a real high speed corner, general rule of thumb, lighter braking, a little bit longer braking, keep the car flat and settled. This is very different from if you're coming down a long straightaway to a hairpin corner. This is a long, fast, high-speed right-hand sweeper. So look, I slowed down a little bit too much. I'm going 83. But look, full throttle before we even get to the apex. And now we're going to start picking up speed. We're going uphill, so we pick up a bit of traction. So that's why we can get to throttle so soon. And now as we track out, we're still accelerating rapidly here. And we're going to get up to, 99 or 100. And then we come up to turn 8, which is a similar speed. You're going 98 in this car. You want to get down on the curb, all the way on it, because now you're setting up what I call the waterfall, which heads steeply downhill. And it's a series of corners that goes left, right, straightaway, left, right, straightaway, left, right, straightaway. Let's go through that last. Before we do that, we're headed again facing into turn 7 and 8, medium to light braking. We're going 104 before we enter. Carry a lot of speed. We can get to full throttle before the apex. We're going to go uphill, track all the way out, gentle carve back to the right, lift, coast, and then hard braking to set up the left, which is called turn 9. Now, this is a very steep downhill section. We were carrying a decent amount of speed. I'm going to back it up a little bit and then pause it as we come down. So I'm barely dragging the brake pedal because I'm going 94. And now we're headed downhill. So the car actually carries still a lot of speed. You kind of just coast. You might feather the throttle. If you're in a Boxster, you might be able to give a burst or full throttle here. And then we're going to be gentle with the brakes initially to let the car straighten out. We want our hands to be straight because we're going to be applying a pretty hard brake here to set up for turn 9. Notice the elevation change. We're already headed downhill, but if you look, when you get over here, it gets even steeper as you get into the corner downhill, and then we have to make a right-hand turn. So it gets faster as you go. So what we want to do is we want to brake hard, and you can actually get in pretty early on turn 9. Notice I'm apexing well in advance of, 2/3 of the way through. I'm apexing about 1/3 of the way through this one, and I'm just cutting the distance as much as I can. I'm all the way over to the left, riding this curb, and I'm going to try to straighten this section out as much as I can. And now again, we're going downhill. I have good camber helping me. The track is sloped, so I actually have really good traction here. That's why I can get in on this apex so early and still carry decent amount of speed. And notice I have no throttle, no brake. I'm kind of coasting through this right now, keeping the car really flat and settled. as we have a pretty hard turn. And now I'm giving a burst of full throttle, and I'm holding full throttle all the way through turn 10. Now, you'll notice a ton of people run off the track here on the right. I don't recommend, for safety reasons and whatnot, to get your wheels in the dirt. You want, and this is particularly true if you don't have traction control or anything like that. So your right tires can be on this curb. In this particular lap, my right tires are a bit in the dirt, but all the weight of the car is on the left-hand side. So there's almost no weight on the right side of these wheels that are along this curb here. It's all being transferred out to the left. I'm at full throttle at 74 accelerating. So on this one, you do a squirt of full throttle. You kind of straighten your hands. You're still holding a bit to the right, because now we're headed toward, still kind of downhill toward turn 11 and 12. So what do you do here? You hold full throttle. This, I lifted just ever so slightly. And then now you straighten out, you brake hard for the right-hander for turn 12. And now you trail brake into 12, full throttle burst again to set up for the left for 13. You can get in very early on turn 13 and ride the rail all the way around it. And then you can go full throttle before 14, slight lift to let the car rotate, full throttle on the exit of 14. And then here we go, we're headed for another lap. Let's back it up and look at the whole waterfall section again. Headed into turn 7. Again, now we're headed into turn 8, which sets up the waterfall. Brake hard, get in early on that one, full throttle all the way through turn 10. You're gonna go fast through 11, brake hard in 12, full throttle, get early on 13, ride the rail, full throttle, then lift to rotate through 14, full throttle, track all the way out on the exit. And now we're headed down that final last little straightaway. Brake hard, threshold, let the car rotate, be patient, and then get to full throttle on the exit. And you've completed a lap of Podium Club. Hope that was beneficial. Look forward to your feedback and comments. Thank you so much. Good luck out there. Have fun. Be safe.